Sorry, 1 minute, Prof.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Thank you. Very good morning. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to Encik Ahmad FALAHUDIN from SAFF Travels. Encik AMIR from Shopee, Malaysia. Encik SHAWN KENG from KENG. And Encik Muhammad ZAKI from Szakif Enterprise. Welcome to APB remotely, although you're not in APB, but we welcome you nevertheless. Yeah. And also to the students of APB, the LG students. Welcome to LG's, LGIES. IES stands for Industry Engagement Series. And this is the inaugural. For the very first time, we're having this kind of engagement with the industry. And the best part of it, we are engaging with young people of the industry. Yeah. And I think between you and the students, probably the difference of 10 years in age. Yeah. So we're not going to reveal your age today. Yeah. So I assume that you are in, almost 30s or probably early 30s, or some of you are in your 25, 26, along that. Yeah. Yeah. So first thing first, let me just welcome the panelists. Just a bit of what Academy Pengajian Bahasa is. Now, the undergrads, they are doing this academic program called English for Professional Communication, Arabic for Professional Communication, Malay for Communication Communication, and also the last one is English for Intercultural Communication. Yeah. And for your information, they are in the field of applied language studies, but in their study plan, they are also doing electives for some tourism courses, for business courses, and what else? And one more is actually they're doing electives from education as well. So at the end of their study, they can actually opt to teach, they can opt to be in the tourism business, and also they can opt to be in the business, or for that matter, in the language based industries like Mr. Zaki has, yeah, Szakif Enterprise, proofreading, editing, and so on and so forth. So it's a big, actually, I would say, scope of work, yeah. So that's an introduction to our courses. And to the students, like I mentioned here, do not assume that you are going to end up doing something which is language related in the application at the office or the workplace. Now, the scope of work is actually very wide. Yeah? You can end up being a diplomat in the foreign services, or one of you can end up being the ambassador to some foreign countries, yeah, some Arab countries. But the point here, you're here to listen at this 4 very good budding, yeah, industry players, I would say, yeah, and listen to what tips they have, what advice they have for you, yeah. Izinkan saya juga bertutur dalam bahasa Melayu, ya, sebab kita juga ada pelajar daripada bahasa Melayu komunikasi profesional dan juga daripada bahasa Arab komunikasi profesional, ya. Izinkan saya bertutur dalam bahasa Melayu. Jadi ambillah peluang ini, ya, pelajar-pelajar sekalian, untuk bertanya dengan apa orang kata, industry players ini, daripada, ya, mereka yang muda-muda, yang umurnya tidak jauh lari daripada para pelajar. Dapatkan pengetahuan, dapatkan ilmu, dapatkan pengalaman daripada mereka. Bertanya soalan, bagaimana? And mungkin satu hari nanti, ya, pelajar akan bekerja bersama mereka, ya, bersama mereka. Jadi ambillah peluang ini. Jadi kepada para panel, saya juga memohon agar berkongsilah sepenuhnya dengan pelajar kita, walaupun at this juncture, probably most of you don't really know where to begin with or where to go, but once you get the hang of it, maybe you can see what you can actually contribute towards the future of our students, and then go ahead. Yeah, go ahead from there. So I wish you thank you, all the best. And also I would like to express my gratitude to all four of you for your willingness to be part of the panelists. And I hope that you will help our students. And also we hope that to make you the academic panel associated with our program in the future. So these are some of the collaborations that we're thinking in the future as well. Yeah, I hope you guys can become the industry panels to our program and make probably advice, you know, at certain juncture of the program. So on that note, thank you again. Ya, dan kepada pelajar, selamat mendengar dan selamat menghayati, dan garaplah ilmu dan pengalaman daripada mereka sebaik-baik mungkin. Ya, terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi. Ya, and back to you, Zak. I have to go back to my meeting.
Okay, noted, Professor. Okay, thank you so much to the Dean of Akademi Pengajian Bahasa, Professor Dr. Haji Ahmad Mazli Muhammad. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, okay, we are about to begin a forum on what is needed, wanted, and demanded. So with that, I would like to pass the microphone to our moderator for today, Puan Maisarah Ahmad Kamil.
Thank you, Zak, for the introduction. Assalamualaikum, selamat pagi, good morning everyone. Selamat datang ke panel LG Industry Series, What is Needed, Wanted and Demanded. Jadi sebelum kita mulakan, izinkan saya untuk perkenalkan diri saya dulu. Ada mungkin yang dah kenal. Nama saya Maisarah binti Ahmad Kamil, pensyarah Akademi Pengajian Bahasa UiTM Shah Alam, Jabatan Bahasa Inggeris. Dan sebelum ni merupakan seorang alumni LG 240. So my juniors out there, LG 240 English for Professional Communication. I am your super senior, graduated in 2013 dan juga ada pengalaman sendiri. Tetapi kita di sini meraihkan 4 orang ahli panel kita, iaitu Ustaz Falah, Encik ISYAM, Encik SHAWN dan juga Encik ZAKI. Jadi sebelum kita mulakan, mungkin saya patut ceritakan dulu perjalanan forum ni. So kita akan mulakan dengan sesi forum, iaitu soalan yang saya akan ajukan kepada panel. So I will be asking questions in 2 languages, English and also Malay. Dan kepada panelis, it is up to you, ikut keselesaan diri sendiri sama ada nak bertutur dalam ataupun menjawab dalam bahasa Malaysia ataupun dalam bahasa Inggeris. Dan kepada pelajar, majority of these questions came from you guys. So the registration form yang you all dah fill up hari itu, banyak soalan yang you all dah tanya kepada panel siap-siap. Jadi inilah soalan-soalan yang saya akan ajukan kepada panel dalam 2 bahasa. Tetapi insyaAllah kalau ada masa, sekarang ni pukul 9.45 pagi hingga ke pukul 10 suku, insyaAllah kita akan buat forum, iaitu forum yang structured kind of forum, ataupun pukul 10.30 we play by ear nantilah. Dan saya mengalu-alukan soalan-soalan yang lain jika ada untuk diletakkan ke dalam ruangan chat box. So if you have any questions, additional questions you would like to ask, even from our lecturers, I see some of our lecturers here. If you like to ask questions to our panel, please do so, put it in the chat box. And then insyaAllah kita akan ada a Q&A session after the first session lah, okay? So untuk memulakan sesi forum kita, sekejap lagi saya akan share screen supaya panelis dan juga audience boleh nampak soalan-soalan yang akan ditanyakan. Tetapi buat masa yang awal ni, saya ingin memohon atau meminta ahli panel kita untuk perkenalkan diri dahulu. Bermula dengan Ustaz Falah. Mungkin Ustaz Falah boleh perkenalkan diri dahulu, bidang pengajian Ustaz sebelum memasuki ke bidang pekerjaan, dan juga sekarang ni apakah tugasan dan skill yang diperlukan untuk menjalankan tugasan harian Ustaz. Dipersilakan. Ustaz boleh unmute mikrofon? Okay.
Bismillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Qala Allah Ta'ala fi kitabil aziz. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonir rajim. Wasta'inu bis-sabri was-salah, innallaha ma'as sabirin. Memintalah kamu pada Allah dengan cara sabar dan bersolat, sesungguhnya Allah Ta'ala bersama orang yang sabar. Saya dikasihi ahli panel, ahli-ahli semualah. Alhamdulillah, ta'aruf ringkas sedikit. Nama diberi Ahmad FALAHUDIN Jasmi. Ahmad FALAHUDIN Jasmi, berasal daripada Pandai Indah, Selangor. Belajar dari Mekah Al-Mukarramah hampir 7 tahun di Universiti Ummul Qura. Alhamdulillah sekarang menjawat jawatan sebagai board of director lah 5 syarikat. Ketika mana PKP ni kami telah mengeluarkan 4 syarikat lah. Asalnya ISYAM Travel and Tours di 2014. Ke mana saya belajar di Mekah tu, saya dah ada syarikat sendirilah menguruskan ground handling di Mekah dan Madinah. Bila balik balik kita tubuhkan ISYAM Travel di 2014 sampailah sekarang ni. Dan bila COVID, kita telah menubuhkan beberapa syarikat barulah, antaranya ISYAM Food Industry, ISYAM Mat, Akikah Global, Sinar Berhad, dan dan Umrati Enterprise. 3-4 travel yang dilahirkan ketika mana COVID. Kita divert daripada travel yang tak boleh berjalan. Sekarang ni kami menjual kambing perap Muzdalifah. The brand of Zalifah tu, dia nama Muzdalifah, ada susu kambing, ayam dan nasi Arab. Itulah sedikit lah. Dan sudah berkeluarga, tinggal di Pandai Indah lah, di jabat di Ampang, HQ di Kuala Terengganu. Boleh Google, boleh Instagram, boleh Facebook lah, ISYAM Travel ataupun syarikat-syarikat ISYAM. Kami bermula dengan ISYAM, INSAFF. Ada 3 makna tu. ISYAM tu makna dia keinsafan. Dalam bahasa Inggeris pun dalam saf lah, in dan saf. Dan dalam bahasa Arab pun kebetulan adik-adik kita, al-insaf tu maksud dia keadilan ataupun kesamarataan dalam, dan pernah dikarang oleh seorang ulama. Satu judul kitab yang bernama Al-Insaf. Itulah sedikit ta'aruf ringkas, cepat dan pantas. Wallahu'alam.
Terima kasih Ustaz. Kemudian saya ingin menjemput Encik Amir Isyam. Amir, would you please like to introduce yourself dan perkenalkan diri?
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan selamat pagi kepada semua. My name is Amir Isyam. Just a bit of introduction about myself and then what skills I think is needed, right? Like an opening salvo lah. Okay, I've got about 10 years working experience. I started out in law actually. So saya punya degree pertama actually law. Tapi I only stayed there about 1 year lah. I worked there roughly about 1 year where I was with Sean Delamore for a while. After then, I moved into government. I joined a government agency. Then I went into consultancy and now I'm in e-commerce, which is Shopee. So in Shopee specifically, I help create programs and projects to help small sellers. So things like new seller support package, high seller potential program, deal hunting teams. These are some of the initiatives that are under me. At the same time, I'm also in charge of the analytics for sellers because I'm in the seller management team as a whole. Okay. In terms of what skills needed in the job market today, I think memanglah you all I know there's about 80% of you that are in your final year. I think based on what Mai shared with us, it's a scary time to enter the job market lah. I pun baru recently I dengar law students now they're talking about they have to pay law firms to take them in for chambering also. So it's a scary time to be in the job market. I can understand that lah. So it's a question of what skills do work, right? So I think even before we go there, because I think we'll probably cover that in the questions with Mai. I think it's very key for you all. You kena faham apa actually you want. What do you want? And when you know what you want, what are you doing towards what you want? Because it's a little bit like if any of you play RPG games, it's very easy for us to say, oh, okay, if you know you want to be an assassin or a thief, okay, semua masuk agility, masuk dexterity, you know all those things already. But if you don't know, that's where it becomes a bit difficult because the more you know, the smoother the pathway. You know what strengths to play, you can research what it would take to get you there, and you can start planning your journey that way. Because that's important. If you know what you want, my question to you is, what are you doing towards what you want? Are you building up the skills and the strengths to actually stand and dapatlah apa yang you nak? Sebab jangan cakap you nak tapi tak buat apa-apa. Now, I think the more common thing that's probably happening with you all is you don't know what you want. So what can you do? I think it's important for me to say right now, nothing is set in stone. Adik-adik, nothing is set in stone. Even if you're failing today in your degree, even if your CGPA is very low, you don't have to be overly stressed out, you know? Sebab kejayaan, you can happen at any point in time in your life. But that being said, it doesn't mean CGPA doesn't matter. I have to caveat that also lah. Nanti your lecturers also be saying, everything gives you an advantage. It doesn't mean that you don't have a high CGPA, you cannot succeed later on in life. But it also means that depending on what you want, that high CGPA might be an advantage to you to enter to certain companies, to enter to certain things that you want. It opens doors. So it's a question of how much effort do you want to put in versus what you want. So with that in mind, then you can answer the question of what skills do I really need, because you can cater it against your end goal. But I rasa a lot of people don't do that because very young, we also don't know. When I started out, I also macam semua benda buat lah, okay lah, and the option that keeps my options open. That's always what I ended up doing. Tapi the faster you can figure out what you want, or at least have a general sense of idea of what you want, the faster you can develop a lot of the skills that you need lah. So I think that's my opening je lah. I think we'll talk about some of the questions later because Mai has quite a few. So thank you very much, Mai.
Thank you, Amir. Thank you so much for your introduction. Next, I would like to invite SHAWN.
All right, thank you, Mai, for inviting us as panelists, and thank you so much to all the panelists for being here today to share your experience to all the students in ATB. Just a brief intro about myself. My name is SHAWN. I'm a graduate from UPM and studied biomedical science. I figured out that in my final year, I'm not much of a person in the lab, so I took a deviate from what most people would do for a biomedical science degree, which is to go into marketing and events. So my first job was actually in Garena. And for those of you who play online games, you probably know League of Legends, Heroes of New Earth, Blackshot, FIFA, things like that. So I jumped from a science graduate and ended up working in an online gaming company. So why did I do that? I know that with a science degree, I needed some experience in marketing. So I took the job and I gained a lot of fun experience being there. So I said yes to a lot of opportunity, and I'm very thankful that one opportunity leads to another. I'm currently working as a marketing manager for Asia Pacific region, and I often interact with people, clients from across Asia Pacific countries. So I talk to clients from Japan, Korea, China, Southeast Asia, Australia, New Zealand, India, and even colleagues from Germany, Poland, UK, US. So on a day-to-day basis, I start my day having calls with a Japanese client, then I end the day having a call at midnight with my Californian colleagues. So I do have some exposure interculturally, and it's quite interesting to see how different people from different parts of the world react. But sometimes the skill set that you need is not often speaking to people from different countries. It's also about speaking to people from different backgrounds. In the past, I worked as a PR specialist for Malaysian Genomics Resource Center. And my day-to-day job is to convince the pakcik, makcik that genetic screening is relevant to their health. And it's always very difficult because they don't understand what is genetic. All the more reason how they understand how our genes predict our health in the future. So these are the things that I do as a science communicator, and probably that is part of my objective is to expose everybody of all the different career options that you may have. So I'm also part of a network of public speaker in FameLab and in Toastmasters, and all we do is to hone your public speaking skills. FameLab is an international group of people who are science communicator to help make science interesting and engaging. I'm also the curator for Science Cafe. So if you like coffee or having hipster place cafe to learn science, this is one of the ways that we encourage the public to learn science on a day-to-day basis. And I used to write for the Petri dish as a science writer. So these are my interests to explore very different ways of communication. And on an academic background, I am an industry adjunct for Inti University College. I help the design thinking module and become the mentors of the student. And helping student means also you have to be a student. So currently I'm still a PhD student studying on commercialization, innovation management, and science communication in Utah. So that's a quick run through. So if any of my hats resonates to your background or your interests, you can direct the question later on in the chat box. So that's all from me. Back to you, Mai.
Thank you, Shawn, so much for your introduction. And then finally, I want to call on stage Encik Muhammad Zaki. Dipersilakan.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya sebagai ahli panel yang ditempatkan di tempat yang keempat rasa macam sangat rasa rendah diri lepas tahu background semua ahli panel yang lain. Saya rasa saya adalah yang paling kurang berpengalaman di sini, dan dengan kurangnya pengalaman saya ni, saya ingin jugalah dengan tak malunya untuk berkongsi juga ada pengalaman sedikit lah yang saya ingin kongsikan bersama-sama dengan adik-adik kita dekat kita punya college ni kan. Dan izinkan saya untuk terangkan sedikit tentang diri saya, dan kemudian saya akan terangkan tentang organisasi yang saya tubuhkan. Saya Muhammad Zaki Ramli. Saya rasa dalam kalangan 4 panel ni saya adalah seorang wakil untuk orang yang buat bidang lain, kemudian masuk bidang lain, kemudian kembali kepada bidang yang asal. Sekarang ni dua bidang je buat. Kisahnya saya ni adalah seorang graduan sains biomedik juga seperti SHAWN. Saya tak pasti SHAWN kenal saya atau tidak, tapi saya pernah jumpa SHAWN dalam beberapa siri program biomedik ketika SHAWN masih lagi dalam undergrad. Ketika saya dah grad daripada UIA. And then selepas saya buat bidang biomed di UIA, saya terjun ke bidang proofreading dan translation. Orang biomed yang sains tu terjun ke bidang bahasa. Kemudian saya buat freelance selama 5-6 tahun. Saya kembali buat master dalam bidang medical sciences. Ketika itu saya dah macam keliru dah nak buat bidang proofreading ke nak buat bidang medical science, tapi dua-dua pun saya buat. So lama kelamaan sekarang ni saya pula sambung PhD di UMP. Saya teruskan dalam bidang sains ataupun lebih spesifik lagi dalam bidang industrial biotechnology, dan pada masa yang sama bisnes yang dulunya saya bergerak sebagai seorang freelancer, sekarang saya kembangkannya sebagai satu organisasi yang membantu freelancer lain. So sekarang dia dua bidang pun bergerak sama-sama ni. Bidang sains bergerak, bidang bahasa pun sama-sama bergerak. Macam tu. That's a bit about myself lah. So apakah saya punya organisasi yang saya tubuhkan tu? Pada 2015, lepas saya dah penat buat kerja freelance seorang diri, client base semakin besar, semakin mantap, semakin ramai orang yang memperkenalkan servis saya kepada kawan-kawan mereka. Tetapi masa yang saya ada dalam satu hari masih lagi 24 jam, dan tak ke semua 24 jam tu saya bekerja, kerana of course saya ada limitasi, ada saya punya kekurangan yang perlu saya gabungkan dengan kelebihan orang lain. So saya, instead of saya buat semua kerja yang saya terima, saya delegate tugas-tugas itu kepada freelancer lain yang ingin masuk ke dalam satu pasukan yang saya namakan sebagai Proofreaders United. So sejak 2015 sehingga sekarang 2020, kami sudah berusia 5 tahun, dan alhamdulillah kami punya klien semakin ramai, dan bukan hanya klien, proofreader, translator, editor pun semakin ramai yang berkualiti dalam saya punya pasukan. Dan mungkin dalam kalangan adik-adik yang sedang menonton kita punya program pada pagi ini, mungkin mahu menyertai saya punya pasukan dahulu, tetapi of course ada dia punya syarat-syaratnya lah. Tetapi itu kita akan bincangkan kemudian. As for introduction for myself, that's a bit about myself and my organisation. Kembali pada Maisarah.
Thank you so much. Terima kasih Cik Zaki. Okay, jadi itulah dia. Kita ada 4 orang panelis yang agak hebat. Masing-masing ada background yang tersendiri. Jadi saya akan share screen supaya kita boleh mulakan sesi forum dengan sesi soal jawab daripada soalan-soalan yang diajukan oleh adik-adik kita sendiri. Okay, boleh nampak ya? Kalau tak boleh nampak, mohon beritahu. Okay, so saya rasa saya dah kategorikan soalan-soalan kepada 3 kategori yang agak besar dekat sini. So kita ada soalan general, soalan business dan juga soalan third language. Dan saya akan tanya soalan, mungkin untuk for logistic purposes saya akan panggil namalah panel untuk menjawab. Tetapi kalau ada lagi seorang panel yang rasa macam dia ada insight yang nak ditambah or anything that you want to share, please unmute yourself and then just add on. Okay, so kita akan mula dengan soalan yang pertama. Sebagai seorang alumni LG 240, saya tahu kenapa ramai sangat yang tanya soalan ni, sebab saya pun pernah berada di situ juga. Sebagai seorang pelajar bahasa, the only thing as an undergraduate you feel like saya tak nak jadi pakar bahasa. Sebab masing-masing grammar pun masa tu ke laut lagi kan. Nama je pelajar bahasa, tapi nak kata penguasaan bahasa tu tak okey lagi. So ramai di sini, seperti saya dahulu, yang kemungkinan besar tak nak jadi pakar bahasa. Dan seperti yang Prof kata tadi, kita sebagai pelajar bahasa tak semestinya perlu masuk ke dalam bidang bahasa. You all by now, your LG 240, 242, 243, 241 is different from my 220. Masa tu kita panggil 220. Jadi sebenarnya panel yang kita panggil hari ini datang daripada pelbagai bidang. So contohnya Ustaz Falah daripada bidang travel ada, food pun ada, memang business minded. And then AMIR daripada bidang e-commerce, Shopee, and he also has government punya experience. SHAWN pernah masuk bidang gaming dan juga sekarang ni biotech and also APAC region, dan juga Encik Zaki yang sebelum ini biotech juga dan sekarang ni I think dah masuk ke bahagian proofreading dan dua-dua sekali berjalan lah. So ini adalah soalan pertama yang saya ingin tanyakan. Mungkin saya boleh minta Ustaz Falah jawab dahulu, kemudian AMIR, SHAWN dan Encik Zaki. Kita ikut turutan tu paling senang lah, sebab yang ni saya kalau boleh nak semua jawab. What are your opinions about graduates who choose careers that are not within their field of study? Jadi apakah pandangan panel mengenai graduan yang menyimpang dan memilih kerjaya yang tak berkaitan dengan bidang pengajian asal mereka? So tolong jawab dengan penuh jujurnya ya. Terima kasih. Ustaz Falah silakan.
Bismillah. Dapat saya mengenai graduan yang memilih kerjaya tidak berkaitan, maknanya lari pada bidang lah. Lari pada bidang ni ramai kenalan-kenalan ataupun saya sendirilah kalau ikut Arabic and Linguistic di Mekah tu 7 tahun lama bidang bahasa Arab, tapi sekarang ni terlibat dengan umrah, buat kambing, basuh kambing kan, buat COVID dan sebagainya. Bagi saya untuk adik-adik di luar sana yang bakal akan graduate, terima saja apa kerja yang kita rasa boleh buat, jangan memilih, dan ada peluang grab. Walaupun tak nak jadi yang kata kalau kita tak pakar dalam semua bahasa pun, cuba kita kata kira pakar satu bahasa contoh. Sebenarnya belajar banyak bahasa ni tak ada masalah. Dia menjadi nilai tambah pada diri kita masing-masing. Cuma kalau di luar sana bila dah keluar nanti, pilihlah bidang yang kadang-kadang tak kena dengan selera kita, tapi kita terima dulu untuk kita masukkan dan kita channelkan diri kita dalam bidang yang kita boleh masuk lah. Tapi kalau kata minat dengan minat belajar dengan apa yang kita nak, kadang-kadang tak ada. Jadi kita lah sendiri kena upgrade kita punya kemahiran, skill dan sebagainya supaya kita boleh masuk ke dalam bidang yang kita nak tu. Tapi sekiranya tidak ada peluang, carilah peluang. Sebab peluang tu dia tak datang bergolek, pipih tak datang melayang kan. Jadi nak tak nak kita sendiri kena cari dan kita kena upgrade lah kita punya kemahiran supaya orang terima kita. Kadang-kadang saya bidang, walaupun bidang bahasa Arab, buat travel kan. Lepas tu buat kambing, memang lagi food industry, memang lagi terus. Kata, tapi nak tak nak itulah kita kena tengok apa permintaan di zaman sekarang, lebih-lebih COVID ni. Nak tak nak kita kena teruskan kehidupan, jangan putus asa dan kena cari peluang dan jangan memilih dan kena orang kata hati kena kental lah. Hati kena kental, jangan cepat koyak. Mungkinlah generasi saya generasi Y berbanding dengan generasi Z. Sama saya generasi Facebook. Mungkin adik-adik di depan kita ni generasi IG, TikTok dan sebagainya. Cuba untuk orang kata kemaskan diri dan teruskan perjuangan lah. Jangan menunggu peluang. Kita kena cari peluang dan kita kena cari ruang. Itulah dapat saya sikit respon.
Terima kasih Ustaz Falah. Amir, mungkin ada sepatah dua yang nak disambung ke situ?
Okay. I think it's normal. I think sekarang dalam the situation where choosing not to study in the field of your study is actually quite normal. Sebab it's very hard to predict what is the future of work. Adik-adik, because today you can say, oh, this is the hottest thing right now. Everybody saying, oh, data science, itulah benda yang paling penting. But I give you a perfect example lah. I think back in the 90s, everybody was talking about this ICT boom that was going to happen, and every single university started doing ICT courses. But when they got out, there was actually no jobs for them. So they ended up going into sales, into insurance. Not to say that's wrong, but it's a question of if you're choosing your degree because that's what you want to do, then it's a question of how are you making sure you are part of that group to stay in that field. But if you are not, then it's a question of what is your current degree going to do to help you achieve the other fields that you want to enter. I think SHAWN gave a good example. He was bioscience, he jumps into marketing. So he picked an opportunity that will allow him to pick those skills. So it's a question for you to explore and to understand what are the fields you want to go into and build up your capacity, because you have to differentiate, because you baru nak start your entry level. So your scope of option, it's a funnel tau. You got more and more options, but as you are longer and longer in your career, maybe your options become narrower and narrower and narrower. So you ada lebih sedikit peluang untuk tukar bidang the older you get. Not to say you cannot do, I bukan nak cakap benda ni tak boleh berlaku. I mean you look at if you look at KFC, Colonel Sanders didn't start his KFC frying chicken business until he was in his 50s or 60s, tak silap saya. So it's not to say the bidang you cannot tukar later on, but it takes more effort. And you've got to question yourself at that point in time, kalau dah kahwin, dah ada anak. I mean, there's a lot of things, but right now, you are uniquely positioned where you are at the beginning of your career, where you can do a lot of things. And maybe that's also where it's scary, or where you macam tak tahu apa nak buat, indecision because too many options. So it's a question of, if you're going to jump to a different thing, how is your current skill set helping you get there? So I'll be very honest lah. Like even degree languages, do you feel, I mean, I don't know how soon or how far away this is, but do you feel threatened by the fact that there's Google Translate coming up? There's things that will basically be able to do your job, what you are being trained to do today. So it's then a question of, if you know those type of things are coming, how are you positioning your CV, your skill set untuk tunjuk that you're more than just a translator? You can do many other things. So you can enter other fields of study, but build your skill set so that you will actually do well in those fields lah.
Okay, good insight, Amir. But then, Amir, because you dah mention a bit about how you can always change the field of what you are going to do in the workplace, so can you give a bit of insight? This is just a tambahan sikit to the original question. To what extent do you think the first degree defines you as a person? Maknanya kalau you dah ambil your first degree in bidang bahasa, to what extent you perlu stick to that language or that aspect of yourself?
Bagi saya, I think the thing about the first degree just like the first job lah. It will train you on how you think. It will train you on how you approach certain things. Sebab the exposure you get from your degree is basically your exposure out of sekolah. So lepas sekolah, masa you kat sekolah, I mean, unless you are one of those super active kids that masuk NGO, masuk NGO even from young, pengangkap dia masuk lah, dia volunteer dekat Mercy Malaysia, dia buat kencara soup kitchen masa dari sekolah lagi, your exposure will be very limited. So because your exposure is very limited, your first degree is your actual first time you are interacting dengan budak-budak dari negeri lain, budak-budak from different income levels, because your school is probably in an area where your income bracket is the same, the people around your neighborhood roughly same lifestyle as you, you know, so this is the first time where you get to interact with many different characters. So dengan itu, it shapes your thinking, you know. Like one of the things that I'm always feel that I'm lucky was I joined a scholarship that helped shape my thinking. So it was even beyond my university. Yayasan Tunku Abdul Rahman, under Yayasan Tunku Abdul Rahman. I think SHAWN, we're all three of us are the alumni from the same scholarship group. But so for me, your first field of study will memang change your perspective of how you think. Like when I made the jump from legal to government and later on to consultancy, what I began to realize is that people who studied economics or business, they have this very unique point of view where they always look, okay, what's the bottom line? You know, they don't ask how difficult is it to do. They ask, okay, if I were to do this, what does it take to do it? And then they will ask, oh, is it legal? Whereas a legally trained person will ask, oh, is this legal or not? Even before whether or not it's worth it to do, you know, oh, what's the requirement? You know, you don't even bother to look at the ROI per se. So all of these things will shape your thinking. So I don't know, I can't say for certain how the language degree would shape your thinking, but that is the kind of thing you have to be ready when you enter the workforce. The way you think may not be the same with somebody else. And at that point in time, especially if you're in different fields, you will begin to see different people thinking differently. So your challenge or to keep ahead, you need to figure out what's the best way to make it work. What is the things you must pick up? What is the things, even as you start there? What is the ways of thinking you need to change? What is the ways of thinking within yours that actually gives you an advantage as well? You know, because I feel that my legal degree has helped me in my consulting and also in my government work, because like MOU draftings, review of contract negotiations. Because at one point, although I was a consultant, those are things that I needed to do anyway. So my degree still helped. So to your question, Mai, I think it is important. It has a profound, lasting impact on you. But what you make of it, whether it becomes an advantage or disadvantage, ultimately it's what you do after.
Okay. I do agree. I feel like to an extent, our first degree, we cannot run away from it, and we have to wield it in a way that it is beneficial and gives us an edge. So I would like to pose the same question to SHAWN, but with SHAWN, I would like to ask another also side question, because you entered Garena after a degree in biotech or biomedical sciences. So I am sure with such a shift, there would be different perceptions and ways people around you think of you, like, you know, tak rugi ke, etc. You always have these kinds of things. I understand that. Could you share a bit of your opinion regarding the question as well as that aspect when you change your field?
Okay. I remember the first time when I went into a job interview. Back then, they were offering a graduate leadership program, and the company itself is open to accept graduates from any field. And I remember in that interview panel, there was myself in biomedical science, there was one from law, and there was another one from IT. And thankfully enough, we passed the interview, and we still have that sentiment. My colleagues would say like, hey, I thought you took a biomedical science, like, isn't it a waste? So back then, my objective is very clear. I wanted an exposure to marketing. I wanted that skill set so that it furnishes my resume. And lo and behold, my next job, the reason why they hired me, and it was a German biotech company as well, the reason why they hired me was also because I had an experience in marketing. Therefore, it was very clear to me. But yes, I would say there's always naysayers around you saying like, oh, you study a doctor, but you ended up doing this or this and that. I mean, those are other people's opinion. I have the ability to kind of ignore this kind of things, which is a blessing sometimes because I don't really care what other people think. But at the same time, I just want to give some word of advice here for this question about choosing your field. I think we need to change the mindset. I think we live in an era where we need to be very dynamic in our skill sets. So I really, back then, when you're a specialist, you are going to get a job. But in this time and age, I think it's beneficial to be a generalist. And I think out of all the university degrees out there, language would definitely be the most, I would say, widely applicable in any field. But how you get yourself into the interview room and how you get yourself into a job, it really depends on how you package yourself. And I myself, as a marketing and had some branding experience, treat yourself as your product. How you're gonna sell yourself in a good way, not the other illegal way, but sell yourself in a good way. How you want to package yourself, how you're gonna brand yourself as a graduate from UiTM or someone that says, boss, I have the skill sets that you want, hire me. Then the next question, why? So your question of getting into the job interview should be asking, why should I hire someone that has no relationship in my company's business operation, but has the skill sets I need to make the business grow? So with that change of mindset, it is perfectly fine to be a generalist. I felt language graduates are a generalist because language is just so wide in application, but how you're going to get yourself related to that company is crucial. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Thank you, Shawn. Very good insight there. I would like to now shift to Encik Muhammad Zaki. Zaki pun lebih kurang sama macam Shawn juga, ambil biomedical science, lepas tu tubuhkan company proofreading dan editing. Jadi ada beberapa di kalangan audience kita pada hari ini yang memang ada minat untuk bina bisnes sendiri. Mungkin ada pun yang dah buat part-time business, online business, tapi kemungkinan besar tak ada kaitan dengan bidang sendiri lah, iaitu bidang bahasa kan. Jadi Encik Zaki yang dah ada pengalaman sendiri macam ni, apa pandangan Encik Zaki pula tentang isu ni?
Pandangan saya tentang hal ni mudah saja. Kita bertanggungjawab atas pilihan yang kita buat sendiri. Okey, selagi mana pilihan yang kita buat itu adalah atas dasar kita yang decide untuk buat keputusan itu, we have to do all the best to achieve what we want to achieve. Okey, maksudnya kalau at this very point of time adik-adik belum lagi graduate tetapi dah buat keputusan untuk tak nak teruskan dalam bidang ini, bersedia untuk menghadapi segala rintangan baik buruk atas pilihan yang adik-adik buat itu. Bermaksud daripada sekarang lagi adik-adik kena tahu bahawa apa-apa sahaja keputusan yang adik buat nanti, ia akan datang dengan pakej kesukaran dan kesenangan. Dalam apa sahaja jalan hidup yang adik-adik akan ambil nanti, pasti akan ada perkara-perkara yang menguji adik-adik nanti. Tidak akan ada satu laluan hidup ini yang kita sentiasa baring di atas rimbunan ros. Ini saya terjemah directly ni. Bermaksud, hidup ini walau apa pun yang kita buat pasti akan ada cabaran. Kalau kita lalui hidup dulu rasa macam seronok aja, tak ada cabaran aja, bermaksud kita sebenarnya tak hidup dalam keadaan yang sepatutnya kita hidup. Hidup kita untuk kita menuju ke arah yang lebih tinggi dalam hidup kita, kita kena sentiasa dihentak, dihenyak, ditendang dengan pelbagai cabaran yang akan menjadikan kita banyak lebam yang kemudian ia akan menjadikan kita seorang manusia yang lebih kuat. Saya bercakap sedikit philosophical kat sini, tetapi I hope you get the idea that kalau nak pilih untuk teruskan dengan bidang yang tak berkaitan, go for it. It's your decision, it's your choice. Teruskan. Kalau nak teruskan dalam bidang yang sama, do all the best you can to achieve what you want to achieve. So ini hidup kita yang pilih untuk buat apa, kita yang pilih untuk jadi apa pada masa akan datang. So bertanggungjawab atas keputusan yang kita buat. Itu pandangan saya. Terima kasih.
Alright, terima kasih Encik Zaki. Soalan yang kedua yang saya ingin ajukan kepada, saya rasa dua orang kot panel yang boleh jawab soalan ni, berkaitan dengan demand pekerjaan, dan saya ingin ajukan soalan ni pertama dia kepada Ustaz Falah. Ustaz Falah tadi masa intro kata semasa COVID ni dapat menubuhkan keluarkan lagi 4 syarikat kan, which to me saya rasa macam agak kagum juga lah, di mana ramai yang tengah hilang pekerjaan, Ustaz Falah boleh membuat dan menjana pekerjaan. Jadi ada soalan iaitu what job in Malaysia has a never ending demand, ataupun pekerjaan apakah di Malaysia yang sentiasa on demand. Mungkin Ustaz boleh ceritakan pandangan Ustaz sendiri, apakah pekerjaan yang memang sentiasa diperlukan, dan dalam masa yang sama tips untuk belajar analisis sedikit market untuk tahu apakah bidang yang mereka boleh masuk mengikut situasi COVID kita sekarang ni. Ustaz, kita silakan.
Okey, berkaitan dengan respon on demand lah. On demand, yang pertama mestilah tidak lagi dia bentuk marketing hasil lah. Ahli-ahli panel lain pun hebat-hebat masya-Allah. E-commerce dan sebagainya, kalau kita pakar dan tahu teknologi, kalau pandai buat apps dan sebagainya, memang boleh duduk dalam pasaran lah. Marketing and sale itu penting untuk semua bisnes, kena ada marketing and sale supaya bisnes tu berjalan. Yang kedua, berkaitan food industry. SAFF Travel setelah tak dapat berjalan bulan 3, dan sebelum tu ada jemaah, hampir ribuan jemaah umrah dan pelancongan, maka kita jual apa saja yang boleh datangkan hasil, face mask, kurma, hand sanitizer, sambal hitam, macam-macam benda-benda yang boleh buat duit, walaupun seposen yang sekarang ni. Jadi tubuhnya syarikat Insaf Food Industry yang jual kami berak dan beberapa produk lain lah. Yang ketiganya perkilangan dan industri. Yang ni COVID tak COVID ke apa semua, perkilangan dan industri tetap akan berjalan lah. Contoh macam Tok Glove, walaupun buat glove kan, ni bukan vaksin pun akan ada juga. Jadi industri perkilangan tetap akan on demand lah. Dan yang seterusnya, kalau adik-adik ataupun sahabat-sahabat yang di sini yang ada ilmu dan ada keinginan untuk belajar ilmu traders ataupun saham. Yang ni COVID tak COVID pun, walaupun Biden dah menang kan, dulu Trump kalah, agak berdarah market, tapi saya yakin dan percaya ada adik-adik sini yang pandai ataupun yang berminat boleh berguru dan memilih guru untuk belajar saham, beli saham yang patuh syariah dan sebagainya lah. Tu banyak di luar sana tak tahu macam mana yang tagline tu, kat Islam tak janji kaya apa kan, macam-macam lah. Jadi itu antara on demand lah yang bagi pendapat saya lah setakat yang saya boleh respon. Dan saya tengok sebenarnya on demand ni sebenarnya ikut keadaan lah, ikut keadaan, tapi yang sentiasa sustain yang saya sebut tadi lah. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih Ustaz. Saya ingin ajukan soalan yang sama and pose the question to AMIR. Sebab AMIR you do sellers, like business analysis for the sellers. So I think in terms of Shopee and the sellers punya performance, maybe you have some sort of insight what products and what markets are booming right now, especially in Shopee lah. Do you have any insights there?
Isn't intelligence?
What do you call it? So I think this goes back to some of the stuff I mentioned before lah. I think it's very hard to predict what the future of work is. I think, but then again, I bear in mind that there's some of you that are already going to graduate. So I think you can already see that right now with the pandemic, things have slowed down lah. I think a lot of companies, bukan they don't need, but they are afraid to hire because they don't know what the business pipeline will look like. They don't know whether they can earn enough money, because a lot of businesses are affected. Because I think as much as people try to, this pandemic is actually very serious. We cannot downplay the effects. Things are going to hurt before they get better. So sebelum COVID, our business might be at 100%. To get back to 100%, what that would take is actually a vaccine that is not only introduced and that actually works. It's also that it's distributed not only in Malaysia, but distributed to at least 90% of the world's population. Until that happens, which I don't think will happen in the next 1 to 2 years, potentially maybe if we're lucky, in 2 years it does happen, but it will take time. So in that time where this pandemic is happening, you must be able to roughly see what industries are doing well. So e-commerce is doing well because people are shut at home, they cannot go out, so they're shopping. Travel, unfortunately, I think Ustaz Falah lagi lah can say lah, travel is really gone lah. You know, that's why he very smartly so pivoted to do other things. You know, but so you must now sit down and take a look, because if you now want to know what industry to go in the immediate, not future, because I think future nobody can predict, because you can say data analytics is the big thing, but you never know when there's another tool that might come in and change things, and you maybe not, it's not as needed. So, but if you're talking about immediate, I think you must take a look at every single industry you nak masuk. How is the pandemic affecting them? Oil and gas, very bad. Traditionally, we've always said oil and gas makes money. Is the money generator. Banking is the money generator. You know, you masuk kat situ, oh gaji tinggi, you know, you boleh relax lah. InsyaAllah, you do well there too. But that's not the case in the pandemic anymore. Because banking sector is badly hit. People cannot pay loans. Government announced moratorium. These are all the things sepatutnya bila you baca paper, you understand what that means to you. You know, if lagi-lagi if you know you want to enter banking. So it's not that you cannot, but it's more challenging today. So there is a question of how are you, as Shawn rightly put it out, how are you packaging yourself to be that candidate to still be able to enter these tough industries? And you must understand that if you enter these tough industries, what is the implication on you? You know, because biasanya kalau orang buat retrenchment exercise, the first person to go is normally the last person to come in the company. So the newer you are, the more at risk you are lah. Of course, there's also another one lah. The higher pay you are, the more at risk you are lah. So technically juniors, once you're in, it's less likely lah, because biasa dia akan fire the bigger guys who gaji lagi tinggi lah. So I think you must look at these industries that you want to enter, because I cannot tell you which industry is doing well. I mean, I can tell you a few lah, but again, it depends. Are these the industries you want to go? Never ending. The only thing that maybe you can say is never ending is things that people don't want to do but necessary. Things like waste disposal, healthcare, education also, I feel is at risk because things have changed. But that's not to say there's no demand. It's just that how you deliver that demand will change. So, question to you all, when you all look at this, when you all are trying to find for a job or a right industry to join, it's a question of how sustainable they are. Even if you were to go inside a company that is in an at-risk environment, what are the chances they will fail? So contohnya, what's their cash flow like? You know, if you're willing to go that extra mile to research lah. Katakan this is in a scenario where you betul-betul mati-mati know you want oil and gas. So what is the cash flow of the company? Can they sustain the pandemic? Because why oil and gas is bad? Because demand is low. People are not going out. Therefore, oil prices drop. So these are the things yang it's not as apparent to see, but these are the things where if you don't know, you should be talking to people who might know. You should be talking to people who are in those industries. So I'm not expecting you to suddenly book up Google and suddenly know everything about the industry. No. So when I talk about knowing what you want and what you're doing towards what you want, are you reaching out to the right people? Are you asking the right questions? Are you trying to get a better sense of what the environment would be like if you go? Because for all you know, after you do all this research, maybe this is not what you want. You know, and yeah lah, there's no easy way of doing that lah. That one's kadang-kadang, because lagi-lagi you just have to explore lah. Kadang-kadang you say you want, I'll tell you honestly, I've been saying that I want tech company, you know, that's my skill set, but I can tell you now, working in Shopee, it's dying lah. The workload is heavy. The workload is heavy. I mean, am I learning? Yes, memang fantastic. You know, but is it a good place to be? Yes, it actually is. Lagi-lagi if the younger you are, the more you will grow and learn here. But is it right for somebody who wants to settle down, to have a family? Maybe not. You know. So again, you must look at it at the lens of that point in time when you want to enter your personal circumstances, whether it fits you lah.
Alright, thank you, Amir. Let me go to the next question. I actually would like to pose, because we are talking about this, I think that we should jump to this one dulu. And that is, how can the students make themselves more marketable? Considering number one, maybe lack of work experience, and then number two, constraints of work from home. So in the audience right now, ada a few yang baru Part 1 as in semester 1, ada yang semester 2, majority I feel is in the final year of their studies. Jadi, adakah terdapat beberapa benda yang mereka boleh lakukan sekarang untuk menonjolkan diri, terutamanya dengan norma baru work from home sekarang ni? Dan soalan ni saya ingin ajukan dahulu kepada Encik Zaki, sebab Zaki, your nature of work is from home, as in home base or very remote base, dan benda ni adalah sebelum pandemik lagi. Jadi saya rasa Encik Zaki ada banyak tips yang boleh dikongsikan dengan pelajar kita. Silakan.
Okey, satu keyword yang sangat-sangat saya ingin tekankan untuk menjawab soalan ini adalah tentang visibility. Visibility, kebolehnampakan. Kebolehnampakan kepada siapa? Kebolehnampakan kepada potential employer nanti. Zaman sekarang ni, adik-adik sekarang sudah ada advantage sebenarnya kalau nak banding dengan zaman saya dulu baru grad. Ketika saya baru grad, ketika itu tidak ada lagi platform yang boleh kita gunakan dengan mudahnya untuk mempamerkan diri kita sebagai orang yang berpotensi untuk diambil bekerja. Tetapi ketika zaman saya undergrad dahulu, ketika itu adalah zaman blogging sangat-sangat digunakan untuk marketkan diri. So itulah yang saya gunakan. Saya menulis di blog tentang apa aktiviti saya di UIA. Saya aktif dulu sebagai seorang setiausaha untuk persatuan, untuk program, yang mana daripada pengalaman itulah yang saya menjana kemahiran dan juga skill set saya, meningkatkan skill set saya dari segi penggunaan bahasa. Again, saya sebutkan bahawa saya adalah pelajar biomed, tetapi saya juga minat dengan bahasa. Daripada aktiviti core curriculum itulah yang saya mengasah bakat saya dalam hal-hal berbahasa, yang kemudiannya apabila saya pindahkan atau saya gunakan kemahiran itu untuk menulis blog juga, ia menjadi satu ruang yang terlihat pada pandangan seorang bakal majikan saya. Kerana apa? Adik kepada, ketika saya tak tahu lagi bakal majikan kan, adik kepada bakal majikan saya itu, dia juga menulis blog. Dan adik dia juga menulis blog. So apabila kita ada melompat dari blog ke blog, so kami sentiasa interact. Lama-kelamaan majikan saya ketika itu nampak potensi untuk Muhammad Zaki ini diambil bekerja dengannya. Dan selepas saya habis je konvo, saya grad 2009. Bulan 5, bulan 6-nya saya dah mula bekerja dengan majikan tersebut. Kenapa? Kerana seawal ketika saya undergrad lagi, saya sudah menonjolkan diri saya di social media. Itu tahun 2009, 2008, tak ada lagi LinkedIn, tak ada lagi Facebook, tak ada lagi TikTok. Sekarang banyak sangat ruang dan peluang dan tempat untuk kita menonjolkan diri kepada bakal majikan kita. Gunakanlah yang paling ada, tak boleh tinggalkan sekarang ini adalah LinkedIn untuk tujuan bekerja. Kerana apa? Kerana dalam LinkedIn tu banyak sangat potential employers yang turut menggunakan platform yang sama untuk mencari pekerja. Jadinya adik-adik, right after this program, kalau tak ada account LinkedIn lagi, cepat buka, jangan buang masa, sebab itulah satu ruang untuk adik-adik menonjolkan diri tentang adik-adik buat apa di universiti dulu. Janganlah dekat LinkedIn tu asyik tunjukkan tak main game je, of course salah. So apa yang adik-adik perlu buat adalah tunjukkan potensi diri adik sebagai orang yang sesuai untuk diambil oleh majikan untuk bekerja dengan mereka. So itu jawapan saya, iaitu visibility, untuk masa yang bahawa adik-adik dilihat oleh potential employer dalam platform yang sangat-sangat sesuai sekarang adalah LinkedIn. Terima kasih.
Okay, visibility memang satu nasihat yang sangat bagus Cik Zaki, terima kasih. Saya ingin ajukan soalan yang sama kepada Ustaz Falah sebenarnya, iaitu apakah cara untuk mereka menonjolkan diri. Jadi Cik Zaki ada cerita tentang visibility LinkedIn, mungkin ada penggunaan Instagram ataupun Facebook. Mungkin Ustaz ada sedikit cara juga yang pelajar kita boleh lakukan sekarang untuk menonjolkan diri mereka di bidang online ni, ada tak apa-apa tips?
Tips bila work from home ni ataupun online ni, yang pertama kita kena fast respond lah. Kadang-kadang malam ke siang ke, kita tetap kena respon dengan pantas dan cepat. Baru majikan tengok, maknanya ada effort ataupun budak ni bukan salang-salang contohnya. Itu antara senario atau tips pertama, kena fast respon. Jangan kita kadang-kadang bila WhatsApp tu double tick, kita kadang tak balas, tak respon, telefon pun tak angkat. Ni antara penyakit-penyakit bila kita jadi majikan ni. Anak-anak muda ni kadang-kadang benda-benda macam ni lah agak lambat kan. Yang kedua, kalau bagi task ataupun bagi satu kerja tu, kadang-kadang kita kena ikut timeline, ikut deadline, dan jangan delay. Barulah kita boleh ke depan dan kita boleh berbeza dengan orang lain. Kadang-kadang task bagi 10, kita buat 20, tu lebih baik. Kata pesan guru saya, Tuan Abdul Basit, dia pesan dekat dunia ni ada benda yang paling penting. Yang pertama, jangan bagi alasan. Orang banyak alasan. Yang kedua, jangan salahkan orang lain. Ni antara pesan yang sangat saya ingat sampai sekarang lah, dan menjadi guru kami untuk kami naik. Jadi dia kata dunia ni jangan buat dua benda ni lah. Salahkan orang lain dan banyak bagi alasan. Jadi itulah tips saya ataupun cara terbaik untuk kita tunjukkan diri untuk memenuhi untuk pasarkan diri kita dalam pasaran. Macam Tuan Zaki sebut tadi, kita nak wujudkan kita berada di mana. Antara tipnya buat akaun tu lah. Mungkin ada adik-adik mungkin tak tahu akaun yang Tuan Zaki sebut tadi, mungkin TikTok, Facebook, Instagram dan sebagainya kan. Jadi ambillah peluang dan kesempatan ketika mana kita berada di norma baru ni, banyak peluang dan banyak senjata-senjata yang terhidang, senjata-senjata teknologi yang terhidang di depan mata kita untuk kita grab dan kita explore semua benda lah. Tak apa, akaun banyak, semua saluran, semua medium ada, tak apa, tak ada masalah. Itu lebih baik untuk kita tunjukkan kita ni hebat dan kita ni boleh masuk dalam pasaran kerja nanti. Dan majikan pun sukalah, insyaAllah.
Safalah, saya nak tanya lah, sebab ini agak kadang-kadang adalah pandangan yang mengatakan lah, mak saya tak suka pula tunjukkan diri kerana nampak macam menunjuk-nunjuk. Jadi mungkin Ustaz ada something yang boleh cerita juga pasal tu.
Maksud dia atas niat lah, kita maknanya bukan kita buat benda yang menunjukkan diri ke atas tujuan apa kan. Atas tujuan apa kita menunjukkan diri. Maknanya bukan kita buat benda tu perkara yang menyalahi agama ataupun menyalahi moral kan. Kita tunjukkan diri supaya orang tahu kewujudan kita dan orang tahu kita punya kelebihan ketika mana kita nak masuk dalam padang kan. Kalau kita striker main bola kan, kita mesti nak menjadikan gol banyak baru orang kata kita ni striker yang hebat kan. Kalau kita malu-malu segan-segan malu-malu kucing dan sebagainya, maka kita ke belakang. Itulah nasihat saya. Maknanya jangan, anda bukan nak kata kalau cakap bahasa Arabnya kena siqah, kena zuhud. Kalau kadang kalau kalau lalu jalan langgar tiang lampu pun payah juga zaman sekarang ni. Jadi kita kena berketerampilan mengikut syariat, mengikut adab dan mengikut moral. Tak ada masalah untuk kita tunjukkan diri kan. Barulah tunjuk dalam Islam disebut al-izzah ataupun keizzahan ataupun kemegahan kita sebagai orang Islam, kena tunjuk kita hebat kan. Kalau kita tak tunjuk kita hebat, maka kita akan ketinggalan berbanding dengan insan-insan ataupun bangsa-bangsa lain yang lebih hebat lah. Jadi kita kena tunjukkan kita boleh bersatu hati dengan semua kaum, dengan semua agama, dengan semua bahasa. Sebab dalam ni semua yang dan Allah Ta'ala pun tak larang untuk kita belajar berbagai bangsa, belajar berbagai bahasa untuk kita dapat tambah kita punya nilai tambah dalam diri kita.
Okay, terima kasih Ustaz. Okay, masih lagi di sini. Yes, SHAWN, nak tambah? Go ahead.
Selain buka account LinkedIn, sebenarnya semua yang dekat sini boleh buat lagi satu aktiviti. cuba anda Google nama anda sendiri. Tengok apa yang tertera dalam search engine results. Kalau itu profile yang memang you sebelum ni masa muda-muda lagi, the crazy days, itu memang profile yang you kena fix. Kerana I'm gonna share real experience. Masa I tukar kerja dari Garena ke Pendor, majikan saya memang Google saya tau. Dan dia beritahu I, kita dah buat satu check on your Facebook, semua tu, dan rasa anda in terms of character memang boleh di employ. Jadi kalau hari ini, kalau you ada masa, Google search anda sendiri. You boleh Google search Maisarah juga. Boleh nampak apa profile yang dia dah ada, dan cuba you compare. This is benchmark. Ini benchmark anda yang kena compare kan. Dan profile anda sekarang macam mana? Adakah anda create that visibility? Kerana semua orang majikan, tak kira lah, lecturer pun akan Google orang juga. Bukan tak tahu, tapi this is something that you can do now. So one suggestion, improve your visibility. Tengok apa yang tervisible untuk anda, so you don't show the wrong image to your majikan.
Can I also add in, Mai? Untuk we're talking about marketability, we're talking about getting the job interview, getting yourself in the door. Dia juga bergantung kepada what you package lah. Betul Zaki cakap, you mean what does your LinkedIn show? I mean, it's not just about creating that account, but what do you actually write as your description of that account? What skills are you putting forward? And even more so, if you know that this is a job you want, you dah tahu, okay, this is the position, memang position yang ni yang I nak buat. Do you actually go through the JD ke tak? Do you baca what the JD cakap? What skills they want? So in your resume, do you actually customize? A lot of people say, or a lot of people just say, oh, customize your resume, but a lot of people don't actually do it. So katakanlah when you read the JD, it talks about stakeholder management. It talks about project management. It talks about communication skill. So is there anything in your resume or your cover letter that talks about those same skills, that talks that you demonstrate those things? Baru you're more marketable. Then they'll be looking at this compared to somebody who send a generic CV, you stand out, you know? Like even your cover letter is actually a very unique opportunity. And this is something I learned only about a year, 2 years ago. So this is something very new even for me. Especially I think this is especially more applicable the more middle management, upper management you get. Straight away in your cover letter, what are some of your suggestions for that role? Apa yang you nak buat kalau you dipilih? You know, what are the ideas that you bring to the table that they can consider on top of just talking about your experience? Because then if I'm the employer, I'm looking at it, wow, this boy or girl really has done research on my company. Yeah? I mean, the ideas might be wrong, but apalah. It shows effort, you know. It makes you stand out from anybody else. So because that's what it is today lah. Nak tak nak, okay, life is a competition against yourself. That's the first caveat I nak bagi. Because whether somebody else succeeds or you succeed, it doesn't matter. Sebab it doesn't pay your bills if your kawan jadi lagi successful or lagi teruk. You know, it's bukannya macam you dapat makan lebih you tu, you know. So it's on you. Your competition is yourself. But at the same time, you must understand opportunities sikit. To get the opportunity to even come in, that's when you're competing. And what's worse is, I think in today's world, you're competing not just with Malaysians, you're competing with globally. Sebab sekarang with work from home, freelancing, you know, a lot of people are actually hiring people from overseas also. So what makes you different lah? Have you packaged yourself? Because you might have the skills already, tapi you tak tahu macam mana nak cerita. You are not telling the right story based on the job you actually want or the job requirement yang you nak. You know, I'm not saying do this for every job application lah. Lagi-lagi kalau job application tu you tak sure. But take some time to spend a little bit of effort when it's something you know you really want.
Okay, thank you so much, Amir. Now it's 10:45, so I'll go and open the floor. If you have any questions, please put it in the chat box and we'll get to it. I know I see one there, but I'll just give some time for others to also put in their questions. In the meantime, while we are waiting for other questions, any pressing that there are, I'd like to go to this question, which is the most important skills that employers want. And I'd like to pose this question to AMIR first. You talk about tadi how you have to customize your resume, customize your CV, your cover letter when you are applying for companies. Considering that these students, they are still doing their degrees, is there any kind of skill that you would recommend they do on the side? Maknanya ambil kelas tambahan ke, extra certification ke, anything that's free, Coursera ke? Is there anything that would give them an edge as fresh graduates to have a particular skill?
I think, okay, you must understand that there's different, by right, I'm not saying it happens all the time, but by right, there should be different expectations for entry level, mid level, experienced hires. There should be, sepatutnya lah. Some companies, they don't do this, but by right, most companies do. Okay, and again, you must look at it as, you must always look at it as who is your competition when you apply for these type of jobs, and how is what you are putting forward in terms of your resume or your cover letter, it makes you different. So now, coming to that, as you rightly pointed out, then what do you actually put in? What type of skills or what type of things that you must be able to demonstrate so that employers think, yo, this is the person to hire? I think in terms of skills, I think what's more important is for you to demonstrate in your CV or in your resume that you are an active, outgoing person. And I don't mean you have to be extrovert to do this. I mean, you must show that you have exposure in the world lah. You kena tunjuk yang you dah buat. Maybe even if you don't have the work experience, because right now you tak ada. Maybe you can show you've done volunteering activities. You do, because people are not just looking at your, of course, the first thing they will look is work relevant experience, of course. But we also, as Shawn pointed out just now, they want to see your character also, whether you will fit within the team. Whether if I hire you, will this person get along with the team, or will they gaduh? So this is where certain skills are important, the soft skills. And this is not just by writing, oh, my skills, essential skills. It's not about having a section in your resume, essential skills, critical thinking, data analytics. It's not about writing that. It's about demonstrating it within your CV, yang you betul-betul have done things that show you have done critical thinking, that show you have data analytics skill. So rather than having a section that says, oh, I am good at data analytics, you should be saying, okay, in this role in my internship, I had helped develop an analysis with regards to the number of funding achieved for sponsorship. I don't know lah, something that actually shows those things. Now, benda macam gitu, potentially, I understand because you are new, work experience might be low, it's enough that you assisted. So, don't oversell lah, jangan tipu. But you can explain if you were involved or participated, if you assisted. Because again, it's just about getting you through the door first, you know, and then demonstrating that you can learn and pick it up. So that's my first caveat. So if you talk about what skills would be good to demonstrate, it'll be stuff like data analytics, critical thinking, problem solving, soft skills, getting along with people. These are things that I think a lot of people underestimate, but these are things that will keep you in the door. Get you and keep you in the door. So, but you might not have the best technical skills. Like even now in Shopee, I had very little e-commerce background before joining Shopee. But my strengths was that I can do stakeholder management. I can do critical thinking. I can do problem solving. So because of that, my boss still appreciates the perspective I bring. So if you ask me, these are the type of skills you must develop. And the only way to develop it, sometimes it's not about cost now. It's about actually doing projects. It's about volunteering, putting yourself in positions where you have to do these things. Kalau boleh, if I was you, what I wish I had known back in uni, you know, I wouldn't care so much about university level punya programs unless you're starting out. You know, I would actually go out and join NGOs, do volunteer, buat benda yang that will just increase your worldview. You know, that will do, because like I said, it's a question of what you want. If you already know you want that CEO or you want that business position you want to work in an oil and gas company, why aren't you going out to get internships in those type of companies in the short SEM instead of doing classes? If you already know oil and gas also still, if you know there is if in oil and gas you already know that, say there is an occupational safety punya certification that makes you more attractive, that's the things you go after. So I think it really falls back into what area you want to get into. And again, if you don't know, then maybe it's about concentrating on the soft skill side. It's about getting more exposure so you understand what you want. If you even have an inkling of saying, oh, maybe I want to be in oil and gas, or maybe I want to be a diplomat, what are you doing to at least get a little bit of the exposure so that you can see what the entry-level guys in those companies are doing and reassess, is that what I want? Because you are young, you have that ability to experiment. Okay, so that is skills. Another thing I have to point out is attitude, because this is actually more important than skills, because your skills could be crap, but you can learn along the way. You know, you must be able to show that you're willing to learn, you're willing to take the initiative. When you get criticism, you fix it. When you say, janganlah, oh, kena marah, muka masam. Yeah, you gotta be like, okay, dah kena marah, okay, this is what, okay boss, next time this is now what I'm doing to make myself better. You know, you must be humble, you must be diplomatic also bila you tak setuju. These are things that you must pick up lah. You must show initiative, be intellectually curious to show that you can see the bigger picture. The easiest way to do this, whether it's for skills or attitude, is to understand why you're doing something whenever you're given a task or whenever you're asked to do something. You know? And from there, inshallah, you will pick up what skills you need lah.
All right, thank you so much, Amir. I want to pose the same question to SHAWN, because Amir, you have given a lot of input, especially for the students who are in their final years, how they can start to look for jobs and the entry-level requirements and fit themselves into that. SHAWN, I want you to focus a bit more on students who are probably in their first year of studies. So we've known each other for a few years already. You have always been my benchmark as the busiest person I've ever known. So probably you can share a bit of extracurricular stuff that you did as a student that really helped you along the line. I mean, you shared that you were part of Toastmasters. I don't know whether you started that even before, but what were some of the things that you were really glad you did as a student that really helped you down along the line?
Right. During my first year, I was active in orientation. Therefore, in terms of visibility, I was kind of marked by the seniors to say like, hey, SHAWN's kind of like a good junior that can pick up the leadership role, things like that. So step number one, leadership and visibility settled. So I was offered a lot of roles, and one of the things that, if this is considered a skill, I think it's the ability to say yes and think later. It sounds very bad, but sometimes you might not know that door of opportunity will take you. And to be frank, I started off as the student council in the college level. I was almost a student representative, but I kind of turned it down. But I was engaged by another senior that says, I'm leading a student organization called Golden Key. And when I was part of Golden Key, I helped raise fund for Burmese refugees to donate food. I collected donations to help high-need schools for dictionaries. All of these are very academic, but in the end of the day, I felt I contributed some part to the society, and that should be a clear statement to you. What is your contribution to society? Once you have that idea in mind, you would know what organization that you want to join. But to agree with Amir, sometimes it's just about saying yes and having that right attitude to do things and to solve problems. And along the journey, I think in university, I was first thrown to do sponsorship, which nobody wants to do. And it was more of you trying to go out there, meet companies. Dah lah student, like mentah-mentah, don't know what to say, kan? Just go there and knock doors and see what happens. But those skills of approaching people and finding ways to convince people to sponsor your faculty dinner, your health fair, if you manage to convince them to put in money to your ideas or your project, those are the skills that will benefit you, whether it's sales or marketing, because in the end of the day, we are selling ourselves, we are selling our job, we are selling our products, everything. It's a buy and sell relationship. How do we convince people to put in their time, effort, and money on you to make things done? And secondly, when I was part of the Unicity organization, to be honest, a lot of the things are being thrown to me and I have no experience, but that shouldn't stop you, because when you're in the working world, like AMIR or even ZAKI, when he started his business, we have no experience whatsoever. We are not born to know all the stuff that we do. But another ability that I really want to point out is trying to fix a mess. If you're employed, your boss would throw you a mess and I pay you for the job, figure it out. I'm not going to advise you. That is the reality. And if you're doing a business, you are running your own business, you are responsible for your own business choice. So those are the things that you need to know, how to fix a mess. That you can Google, you can ask your senior, everything. It's just opening your mouth and wanting to learn. So I opened my mouth, I said yes to a lot of opportunities in the universities. One opportunity brought me to another. So Golden Key brought me to Global Shapers because I know the founding curator, and Global Shapers brought me to Biomed KL, and Biomed KL brought me to Toastmasters, and the things go on. And I'm still also actively involved, although my work is challenging. I'm starting a family life, but I try to balance that. In some part, this is a way of self-growth. It's an investment to yourself that you put in time to be involved in things beyond your work, beyond your normal life, because you never know who you will meet and what you will learn. So that's my take on this.
All right, thank you so much, Shawn. We have a couple of questions in the chat box. I think the first one, probably I will post this to Ustaz Falah. Pada pandangan Ustaz Falah, semasa pandemik ini, yang mana lebih penting? Salary ataupun minat kepada sesuatu bidang? So, boleh Ustaz bagi pandangan?
Ketika pandemik, apa yang paling penting? Teruskan kehidupan. Iaitu salary lah, kalau ikut salary lah, berbanding minat. Sebab ketika ini memang semua pihak mencari sesuap nasi. Tapi guru saya pesan, Tuan Basik pesan, dia kata sebab banyak nasi yang tumpah, tapi ada rezeki yang melimpah. Walaupun nasi itu tumpah banyak, tapi ada rezeki kat depan tu yang melimpah. Cuma kita kena positif dan kita kena cari circle yang baik lah untuk kita dapat sesuatu rezeki tu. Yang mana Muslim lebih-lebih lagi lah untuk ketika pandemik ini, jangan kita putus asa, jangan kita memilih lah. Macam kalau ikut nak ikut minat, memang tak dapat lah. Kita kena ikut yang boleh mendatangkan duit walaupun seposen pada kita dan dapat cari rezeki. Betul lah, respon.
Ustaz Falah, saya rasa jawapan tu adalah jawapan yang sangat realistik dan sangat benar, sebab ramai yang mungkin akan bagi bahasa yang berbunga macam no, follow your passion, etc. Amir, ada nak tambah?
Can I just add a bit?
Yeah.
I agree with Ustaz. I think money is important. I think money is important, but I think this is where adik-adik, you must look at your personal circumstances. If you are, syukur alhamdulillah, lucky enough to come from a family that maybe doesn't need you to give money to your parents, that you know you don't have commitments, you tak kahwin lagi, you tak ada anak, you can take more risks. But if you have commitments and you know your personal circumstances is such that your parents maybe they don't have enough money for their retirement, and you have to bagi, or you know you have to balance these considerations. So bagi saya, the question of salary comes back again to the one thing that I keep mentioning. What do you want? Apa yang you nak? Kalau you betul-betul nak benda ni, then you must be realistic and look at your personal circumstances. What are you willing to sacrifice to get this? And what can you sacrifice? I mean, there are certain things, whether just as human beings lah, tak payah cakap Muslim lah, that you want to make sure you don't do, or you want to you want to berbakti kepada mak bapak, you want to, so it's a question of if you're lucky enough, because not everybody has the same starting point in life, unfortunately. So you must really sit down and take a look lah. Can you afford to ignore the salary and do something that you want, or at what expense? So that's something I cannot answer that for you lah. Aina Huda ni. You must sit down and you must look. Kalau you dapat, is that 4,000 ringgit more important because you've got commitment, or is the 3,000 ringgit salary or 2,005 ringgit salary, but in something you love or is passionate about, more important?
Very true. I think it goes back to the economic concept of opportunity cost. So whatever decision that you make, you do need to figure out what you are losing. Let me see. I think I would focus more on questions that are related to the workplace or professional development. If we have time, then we go to some of the personal development, or we do another session and call the same panels for another session nanti kan. So Aina is asking a pretty good question. What can a fresh graduate contribute to an organization? What would be a good way of telling a recruiter, or what would be, okay, how do you convince a recruiter that you make a good recruit? Okay, so because some companies hiring graduates with no experience and lack of related knowledge, it doesn't seem to benefit them. Let me see. This kind of question, probably I will have it open. Anyone feel like they would like to answer this one?
I want to answer?
Go ahead.
Okay, because what I want to answer now is also related to the earlier question about the skills that they need to have. Okay, that question is so much related to this latest question from the students. Okay, sebenarnya saya dah bersedia untuk menjawab satu soalan tentang skill tu, tapi since kita nak move forward to the next question, elok pula ada soalan yang ni, saya akan jawab soalan ini dan soalan tadi sekaligus. Okay, so tentang skill yang diperlukan. Dan skill ini memang sangat-sangat diperlukan apabila kita berhubung dengan recruiter. Itu skill berkomunikasi. Saya nak kasih satu contoh yang berlaku ketika saya rekrut seorang staff saya 2 hari sebelum PKP bermula. PKP pada 18 hari bulan Mac, saya buat interview session tu pada 16 Mac. Dalam sesi interview itu, saya ada 3 orang final kandidat untuk saya pilih seorang saja. Dan apabila saya tengok apakah kelebihan yang ada pada mereka, yang seorang ini sangat stand out dari segi skill komunikasinya. Kerana apa? Semua email saya dia balas, semua message saya dia balas. Dan pada pagi sebelum interview session itu bermula, dia message saya. Maksudnya dia memang menunjukkan ciri-ciri orang yang visible sebab dia sentiasa balas email, balas message, dan kemudian dia communicate dengan sangat-sangat efektif. Semua message dia balas, and then bukan hanya dia balas, dia memulakan juga communication tu. Sebab itu apabila kita ingin pastikan diri kita, goes back to my point earlier, visible, kita kena communicate, kena tunjukkan diri kita muncul di mata orang yang akan rekrut itu. Sebab itu Dik, bila kita nak cakap pasal nak kerja ni, Dik, jangan nak introvert sangat, Dik. Introvert tu tolong tak tepi kejap. Make sure yourself is visible to your future or potential employer. Lepas tu bila dah dipilih bekerja, nak introvert balik terpulang lah. Kerana apa? Kerana kita nak pastikan diri kita nampak pada mata bakal majikan itu. Kemudian kita boleh tunjukkan diri kita yang sebenar ketika kita dah bekerja dengan mereka. Kerana apa? Kita nak lepasi satu stage di mana kita mahu dipilih. Saya tak bermaksud untuk berkata kita perlu berpura-pura berlakon, tak, bukan. Sekarang kita nak pastikan bahawa kita nampak pada bakal majikan, dan apa yang nampak pada bakal majikan tu adalah benda-benda yang positif, yang betul tentang diri kita. It goes back to Shawn punya point tadi tentang kalau ada kita pernah muncul di internet tentang benda-benda yang tak berapa nak semenggah, delete, tak apa, delete. Sebab apa? Itu diri kita yang lama. Kita ada diri kita yang sekarang yang kita boleh baiki dari masa ke masa. Kalau ada peluang untuk delete, delete. Kalau ada, and then kita mesti ada ambil usaha untuk perbaiki diri kita. Dan antara perkara yang kita kena perbaiki dari masa ke masa adalah skill komunikasi kita. Adik-adik pun belajar komunikasi kan, masa ni lah nak kena amalkan apa yang adik-adik belajar dulu. Okay, so gunakan ilmu sepanjang belajar kos komunikasi ini dalam hal ketika mencari bakal majikan yang adik-adik ingin bekerja dengan mereka. Okay, itu saja.
Alright, terima kasih Zaki. Actually, I nak masuk ke soalan-soalan sedikit yang pasal bisnes ni sebab ada beberapa di antara audience kita yang memang berminat nak mulakan bisnes, mungkin ada yang dah buat side business juga. Saya nak jump terus ke soalan yang kedua, iaitu bagaimana kita boleh buat connection. So how do we make connections with other companies or clients to grow a business, ataupun bagaimana kita membina hubungan dengan syarikat lain untuk mengembangkan perniagaan. Dan soalan ni saya ingin ajukan kepada empat-empat panel, kepada Ustaz Falah dan juga Zaki, kalau boleh dari perspektif pemilik bisnes, dan SHAWN dan AMIR dari perspektif membina networking among those yang mungkin dia tak minat nak buat bisnes, but networking juga penting untuk cari kerja dan juga untuk bina your own visibility kan. Jadi mungkin saya pas soalan ni dulu ke Ustaz Falah. Pandangan Ustaz?
Kata bina hubungan antara syarikat kita dengan syarikat lain lah. Yang pertama, istilah menjaga hubungan ni, kita kena sentiasa berhubung, sentiasa follow up, bukan bila ada job je kita berhubung. Walaupun di dalam perniagaan kita berniaga, di luar pun jadi kawan, ngopi sekali, ngeteh sekali kan. Kalau boleh kata, maknanya bukan disebabkan job ataupun duit sahajalah. Itu antara maknanya hubungan tu lebih kuat dan rapat. Yang kedua, kita jaga hubungan, jangan ada masalah, jangan bergaduh, dengan ada isu-isu yang agak sensitif dan sebagainya kan. Itu antara benda-benda kita nak jaga hubungan, jangan ada benda-benda yang menyebabkan masalah antara kedua belah pihak lah. Dan yang ketiga, dua pihak bila berhubung kena ada perbincangan, kena ada sentiasa give and take, kena ada keep in touch antara dua-dua belah pihak, barulah hubungan tu kekal lama. Bukan kata kejap, lepas tu dah tak ada dah. Hubungan tu bukan sekadar perniagaan ataupun syarikat, tapi boleh untuk kita kembangkan lagi hubungan tu melalui persaudaraan dan persahabatan. Itulah antara kita nak bina hubungan syarikat dengan syarikat lain. Dan kita jangan rasa kita ni hebat, dan kita rasa kita ni gah seorang-seorang. Dalam dunia sekarang ni tak ada dah hidup seorang-seorang. Kalau kita tengok syarikat-syarikat lain, tengok contoh yang berlaku dalam dunia dan dalam negara kita, kita tengok banyak syarikat-syarikat besar dengan syarikat kecil yang dah gabung. Kalau tengok dekat Petropam pun, Petronas dengan Shell, dengan Starbucksnya, dengan jadi wa ta'awanu 'alal birri wat taqwa wa la ta'awanu 'alal itsmi wal 'udwan. Allah Taala sebut, mungkin ada adik bahasa Arab faham kot, Allah Taala kata, janganlah kalian bertolong-tolong dalam perkara birri wat taqwa, perkara kebaikan dan takwa, dan janganlah kamu tolong dalam perkara permusuhan dan ismi berdosa. Maknanya hubungan perniagaan ni boleh jadikan ibadah juga, boleh kita sebarkan kebaikan dan kerahmatan dan keharmonian di dalam perniagaan bila kita keluar nanti. Panjang pula. Sorry.
Tak apa Ustaz. Saya nak tanya sebab mungkin kebanyakan pelajar kita di sini dia tak ada network dia sendiri lagi. Jadi dia baru nak mulakan network dia. Apa tips utama Ustaz untuk dia mulakan network tu? Maknanya nak first bina dia punya networking dia ni.
Okey. Bermula dengan diri sendiri. Dari segi diri sendiri tu kita kena positif lah. Yang pertama, vibration kita kena positif. Kalau kita down, kita tak semangat, macam mana kita nak mulakan hubungan tu kan? Hubungan kita dengan Tuhan, hubungan kita dengan mak ayah, tu dah mula relationship tu dengan adik-adik, dah start dah. Bermula dengan diri kita, mula dengan jiran-jiran, mula dengan kawan-kawan, tu dah mula bina hubungan. Jangan kita duduk seorang-seorang dalam bilik main PUBG tak jadi juga, ataupun duduk TikTok seorang tak jadi juga. Dan sebenarnya dalam hubungan media sosial pun tu dipanggil hubungan juga untuk kita bina networking. Apa lagi yang kita boleh kita orang kenal kita, boleh rapat dengan kita, berkawan dan sebagainya. Maknanya kata kita mulakan diri kita dulu lah. Kalau diri kita pun tak nak berkawan dengan orang, kalau kita istilahnya kera sumbang, maka orang tak nak kawan kita lah, dan kita tak boleh bina networking. Bermula dengan diri kita, bermula dengan kawan-kawan, bermula dengan jiran kita, dengan adik-adik kita check. Ataupun hubungan kita dengan mak ayah pun. Kalau hubungan kita dengan mak ayah pun tak baik dan tak comel atau tak elok, maka apatah lagi dengan orang lain. Tu je sebenarnya punca dia. Jangan kita jadi katak di bawah tempurung lah. Walaupun zaman teknologi sekarang, jangan kita asingkan diri kita dengan orang lain. InsyaAllah.
Okay, terima kasih Ustaz. Pada Zaki?
Okey, saya akan kasih satu jawapan yang sangat praktikal yang mana adik-adik boleh terus buat benda ni right after kita punya session ni, tentang macam mana nak bina hubungan dengan syarikat lain kan. Saya tak pasti tentang yang bertanya ni sudah ada syarikat atau tidak, tak kisah ada syarikat atau tidak, tetapi untuk membina hubungan dengan syarikat lain kita kena berada di mana mereka berkumpul. Dan apa yang saya boleh nasihatkan secara praktikalnya, adik-adik boleh search kata ni BNI, Business Network International, BNI. Saya pernah menjadi ahli BNI sebelum ni, tetapi oleh sebab komitmen PhD saya tak dapat nak teruskan bersama dengan mereka. Tetapi dengan platform BNI ni, adik-adik boleh masuk ke dalam meeting mereka meeting setiap minggu, dan ketika itu adik boleh berkenalan dengan bos-bos bisnes yang lain. Maksudnya memang bos datang ke meeting itu pada setiap minggu untuk mereka sendiri bernetwork sesama mereka. Dan dalam meeting itu mereka menjemput orang luar yang ingin berkenalan dengan para bos-bos ini. So kalau adik-adik ada masa, boleh cari di mana-mana chapter BNI. Chapter ni maksud kumpulan BNI. Saya dulu adalah ahli BNI Solusi. BNI Solusi ni meeting pada setiap Jumaat 6 pagi. 6 pagi kami dah mula berkumpul, 7 pagi kami start meeting. Dalam meeting itu kami diberikan hanya 25 saat untuk menerangkan tentang bisnes kami. Sangat menarik tentang BNI ini, dan adik-adik juga sekiranya datang ke dalam meeting itu, adik-adik diberikan masa selama 20 saat untuk memperkenalkan diri adik. Nak bina hubungan sangat kan? Pergilah ke meeting BNI ini kerana adik-adik memang diberikan peluang untuk memperkenalkan diri dalam masa 20 saat. Dalam meeting yang saya pernah pergi sebelum ini, saya memang pernah ada pelajar-pelajar universiti yang dijemput sebagai tetamu untuk datang ke meeting mingguan BNI Solusi ketika itu. So why not sekarang ni, walaupun musim pandemik, mereka masih lagi menjalankan meeting setiap minggu. Adik-adik boleh minta untuk dijemput sebagai seorang tetamu, dan ketika itu adik boleh berkenal-kenalan dengan para pendiri bisnes yang ada di dalam chapter-chapter tersebut, dan kemudian adik-adik mungkin berpeluang untuk menjadikan mereka mentor ataupun bekerja dengan syarikat-syarikat tersebut. Itu adalah satu jawapan praktikal yang saya boleh anjurkan kepada adik-adik right after this session. Thank you.
Alright, terima kasih Encik Zaki. Amir, any tips on building networks?
Okay, I think there's two perspective here we need to take lah. When I see this question, I tengok ada dua benda. There's personal network, there's networking for your business company. If you're talking about for your business, your company, I think potentially a couple of things you need to do. First, you need to understand your business. You need to understand who are what's your product, who are your suppliers, who are the people that will be involved in you selling whatever product or services you're selling. And from there, do you know who these people are? Do you kenal tak? Do you have a connection with these companies? Who are your competitors? What are they doing? You know? And from there, you can start talking to maybe, kalau supplier, if you need a particular, if you run training and you don't have your own training center, do you have a list of all the training centers and their rates where you can do? So it's about, there's no easy way to build this. You have to build it by actually doing it, by calling, by talking. Macam Ustaz Falah pun sebut, you know, Zaki sebut networking, Ustaz Falah sebut kena bercakap, kena buat diorang jadi kawan. Because I think how you should approach any business, even when you talk to competitors, the market is huge. You're never going to be the only person in the market lah. You know, you have to be okay with there being competitors. And in fact, you should be learning from your competitors. Bagi I dah tak guna nak dengki dengan orang lain. Oh jangan bagi tahu dia, nanti dia akan ambil bisnes ni. You know, I think if you want to succeed, the best way to do is to learn from other people's mistakes and to make friends with people who are in the business. So going to business events, understanding from your supplier, even just making cold calls, ajak minum, in your advantage as somebody who's young, you can always position it, tolonglah bang, saya budak baru nak belajar, I want to experience, get your experience. InsyaAllah dia tak akan say no lah. Even if they say no, tak apalah. At least you now know, move on to the next person. What if they say yes? If they say yes, you've gotten the advantage already. So the thing about these type of things is you cannot malu bertanya lah. If you malu and you keep quiet, you're not going to get anything out of it. So that's business. For personal networking. Okay, this one, again, I make the first caveat. It depends what you want. Okay, where do you want to go? Who do you want to network with? Because it goes back to your overall goal. But that being said, doesn't mean you cannot network in general. In my mind, if you know what you want, you should be spending time trying to network with those individuals. Okay, the individuals, if you tahu you nak masuk oil and gas, do you know anybody in Petronas? Do you know anybody in Shell? Anybody that can talk about the experience working there? If you now know because when you know what you want, you can even now narrow it down. Okay, I'm a communications graduate. Okay, does that mean based on that, where would I naturally fit? Okay, maybe I will naturally fit in the marketing department. Maybe I will naturally fit in what else? Potentially, a CEO office type of role. So what? Understanding what is the structures within those companies and where you naturally fit, and finding out who's in those structures so you can ask them the experience about how to do. And the earlier you do it, the better, because you build that relationship. Now, how do you actually do it? So again, maybe if you go internships there, you can already identify who are the high performers, make friends with them, have coffee with them, so that you can get them comfortable with you at a personal level, that you can ask, bang, kalau later on if I need to ask you any questions, are you okay with that? If you really don't have any connections, reaching out to them on LinkedIn also can work, but you must be smart about it lah. Cara you send a message pun, you kena lah, Assalamualaikum, I'm sorry to disturb you, but this is what I need. I would like to maybe just get 20 minutes of your time to learn more, So you can do that on LinkedIn. Worst case, they say no, or they don't layan, they don't even reply, but at least you tried. Another way is potentially there are some mentorship platforms available. I think whether it's your alumni, whether it is alumni of your university, whether it is whether it is alumni to your university, or maybe even there is a platform I think called Future Lab that does mentorship, that gives you access to different mentors in the industry, because these guys are more likely going to respond to you lah, rather than anybody else. Apa lagi? Because it's all about finding that excuse to open the conversation now. Then it's easier. Like even the LinkedIn message I cakap tadi, if you know one way, it really goes back, if you know what you want. If you know that you are a communications graduate and you want to be in project management, with LinkedIn now, it's very easy for you to maybe look up who are communications graduate, and from there see what companies they're in. Have they made that similar jump that you want to make? Talking to somebody like that will be 100 times more valuable than talking to somebody who has never done it. Because you have to be careful who you get some of these advice from, because everybody will claim they know what they're talking about. But the best person to talk about are people who are actually in the field or industry that you want to be, and not people who have done that transition that you want. These are the guys you should be talking to, because kadang-kadang if you talk to certain people, they might be biased based on their experience, or their experience might be 20 years old, that might not be relevant anymore. So you must be very careful lah, because you must always look at it from the lens of your current position today and the level you are at and where you want to be.
Thank you, Amir. Shawn, anything else to add to that? on networking?
In the interest of time, I think the other panelists already covered most of it. I think we can move on to the next question because how much time do we have left for the session?
We have 10. So if that is your answer, then I am going to wrap up. And the way I want to wrap up is I would like to give you guys around 3 minutes for you to give your final words, as well as an additional question that I would like to ask specifically for you. So I would like to pose this question to you, Shawn, regarding communication and regarding the use of Mandarin as an additional language. Do you find that there is an advantage if students can converse and speak in Mandarin, as well as being just in the communication field itself? And as you are answering that question, what are your final words for the students?
I felt this question felt like an unfair advantage for those who are not speaking Mandarin. But my general comment is that having an added language in your portfolio is always an advantage. I got this job interviewed by a German, and the first question that he asked me was, Shawn, can you speak Mandarin? Because you need to take care of the China market. And I said, yeah, I can speak. And even when I got the job, I don't even understand the Mandarin from China. Seriously, like they speak in a different slang. It's like I'm trying to understand the Kelantanese Malay. It's like I studied Bahasa Malaysia, but I still don't know what's their longla and slang and everything. It felt the same. So back to the question, yes, it is an advantage. And I would say, maybe as a closing remark for all the language students here, is that don't be in dismay if you felt like, oh, I had the Mandarin competency, I lose an advantage. Then find your advantage and position yourself better. Because in the end of the day, whatever that you learn in the university is only the tip of the iceberg, what you would be needing for the job career later. And I can honestly tell you, I got into Garena, I learned video editing, photo editing, things like that, broadcasting, things like that. I entered a Pandorf, I learned myself on the job, how to organize event, how to turn a truck into a lab, things like that. Those are things that your lecturers won't teach you. You have to figure it out and learn it yourself. So face the world that is so ever evolving with an open mind that you're wanting to learn something new. I'm always a person that says yes to any opportunity. Networking, it got me to another person and it got me a job. It got me to whoever there is a speaker for my Science Cafe initiative. So just say yes and be open to the opportunities out there. And that's my closing remark.
All right, thank you so much, Shawn. Next, I would go with Zaki. Zaki, all of these students are language students, and you having owned a proofreading editing punya company kan? Maybe Zaki boleh share a bit about kalau ada yang berminat nak masuk bidang proofreading, apa yang perlu mereka ada, apa yang perlu mereka buat, macam mana diorang nak penetrate market ni sekarang ni, dan juga any last tips dan words of advice lah for the audience.
Okey, soalan tu memang saya kerap dapat sebenarnya daripada pelajar-pelajar yang baru grad daripada bidang bahasa, dan mereka minta panduan tentang macam mana mereka nak enter the market. Dan memandangkan soalan tu kerap sangat saya jawab, saya pun dah tak larat nak jawab sebenarnya. So saya rakamlah video dekat Facebook. So siapa yang nak dapatkan the full length of that video, bolehlah PM saya lepas ni untuk tonton video tu, supaya dalam video yang saya dah rakam tu, saya berikan langkah praktikal untuk segera dibuat, dan cuba buat. Kalau tak boleh buat, kita try cara lain. Okey, dan untuk adik-adik yang dalam bidang bahasa ni, rezeki itu sentiasa ada, cuma kena cari dan kena berusaha untuk ke arah mencapai rezeki itu. Dia benda kena usaha, dia takkan datang bergulik ke arah mulut kita sendiri. Okay, so sedikitlah, semasa pun dah tak banyak, saya nak minta adik-adik untuk kenali diri sendiri, ketahui apakah kekuatan diri, apakah kelemahan yang perlu dikuatkan, dan gabungkan kedua-dua ni. Dan once you know yourself, you know where you want to go. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zaki. Next, saya akan pergi ke Ustaz Falah. Ustaz, ada yang tanya sebab dekat sini saya rasa dalam 40% kot adalah pelajar bahasa Arab untuk komunikasi profesional. Jadi mungkin Ustaz boleh bagi pandangan sebagai seorang yang belajar bahasa Arab linguistik juga di Mekah dulu. Apakah antara bidang-bidang yang Ustaz rasa ada peluang untuk pelajar bahasa Arab kalau mereka ingin stay di dalam bidang bahasa Arab ni lah? sama ada di dalam ataupun di luar Malaysia. Mungkin Ustaz ada nampak bidang-bidang yang boleh mereka masuk?
Okay, berkaitan dengan bahasa Arab bahasa Arab lebih khusus. Yang pertama tourism lah. Yang pertama tourism, kita menerima tourism daripada segera buka lah, mungkin dalam setahun atau 2 tahun lagi. Kalau kita pandai berbahasa Arab, kita boleh masuk dalam tourism, kita menyantuni tetamu-tetamu daripada luar ke dalam Malaysia, dipanggil inbound. Ataupun bila kita pandai berbahasa Arab juga, anda mempunyai kelebihan sekiranya anda boleh berfasih berbahasa Arab baku ataupun fasih berbahasa Arab pasar. Contoh kalau kita pergi ke Arab Saudi, kalau kita boleh berbahasa Arab secara pasar, kemungkinan anda akan dipilih menjadi mutawif ataupun group leader untuk membawa grup pergi ke Mekah atau Madinah untuk bercakap Arab. Itu kelebihan berbahasa Arab lah. Kebanyakan saya ada pengalaman lah, cerita sikit lah. Ketika mana kami temuruga hampir kami nak 2 jawatan je mutawif lelaki. Yang datang tu hampir 20 hingga 30 orang. Tapi agak sedih dan agak duka cita, yang datang berbahasa Arab itu kebanyakannya dari Timur Tengah. Timur Tengah tapi tidak boleh berbahasa Arab. Bahasa Arab yang tidak cukup lancar, tidak boleh bercakap Arab bahasa komunikasi. Kita bagi satu contoh situasi di Mekah dan Madinah untuk booking hotel, untuk bercakap dengan supplier bas dan ground handling kat sana, dia tak boleh berbahasa Arab. Dia banyak tu banyak. Yakni tak boleh. Kalau cakap Arab ni dia kena cakap fasih. Kalau boleh cari guru atau cari kelas yang boleh berbahasa Arab secara pasar. Komunikasi yang fusahah ni bahasa baku boleh, penting, betul. Tapi kebanyakannya bila kita nak bercakap komunikasi dengan supplier atau orang Arab di Mekah dan Madinah ni, ataupun di tempat-tempat lain untuk kita pergi Mesir contoh semangatnya, mungkin boleh belajar bahasa AMIR Mesir. Tu ada kelas-kelas, ada guru-guru dia. Kena cari. Yang pertama tourism lah, sama ada dalam atau luar negara. Yang kedua perniagaan. Mungkin kita boleh deal bisnes macam Tuan SHAWN sebut tadi, walaupun bahasa Mandarin boleh dapatkan market China, kita boleh berbahasa Arab untuk market Abu Dhabi, UAE, Arab Saudi sebagainya. Perniagaan banyak. Untuk kita kerjasama dengan pihak-pihak di luar dan kita bawa mereka di sini untuk jadi delegasi, kan? Yang kedua, yang perniagaan lah. Yang ketiga, macam Tuan ZAKI tadilah, kita pandai di segi terjemahan, dari segi percakapan, penulisan dan orang kata bidang-bidang yang penyuntingan dan sebagainya, banyak kelebihan. Banyak kelebihan. Dan sekarang ni marketing pun kadang-kadang kita bilang masuk satu pihak, kalau kita pandai terjemahan, kita nak guna talent-talent yang pandai terjemah ni untuk kita terjemah ke dalam bahasa Arab semua konten lah. Semua konten kami perak ke apa ke, nak masuk market Arab Saudi kena pandai suntingan dari segi terjemahan. Yang keseluruhnya pendidikan lah. Pendidikan yang memang tak boleh lagi. Dapat dia jadi guru bahasa Arab kecil-kecilan di rumah ke, buat kelas meeting Zoom online ke, bayar RM5, RM2 ke contoh. Ketika PKP ni banyak guru-guru Quran yang dapat sedikit income sebab mengajar Quran, tajwid dan sebagainya. Betul lagi, saya tengok jarang ada kelas bahasa Arab. Saya tengok jarang kelas ada bahasa Arab yang buat meeting ataupun buat kelas ikut Zoom. Kebanyakannya kelas Quran lah. Setakat saya perhati daripada PKP. Jadi adik-adik yang ambil bahasa Arab ni ambil peluang. Kalau pandai bahasa Arab, ajar yang basic, hadhihi, benda yang basic, benda yang mudah. Tak payah nak payah-payah sangat. Yang itu pendidikan lah. Yang keseluruhnya apps dan teknologi lah. Ini yang saya rasa sangat penting. Kalau kita pandai bahasa dan kita pandai juga teknologi, buat apps, kita pandai dan ada talent untuk buat teknologi, dalam bahasa Arab yang kita buat tu memang kata saya salute lah dan saya tabik. Memang power lah kalau sekiranya adik-adik di dalam meeting Zoom ni, meeting Google Meet ni pandai bidang tersebut. Itulah respon saya berkaitan dengan bahasa Arab. Dan satu lagi, lupa saya nak pesan, bahasa ini kena bercakap. Bahasa ni kena bercakap, kena praktis. Jangan kita rasa kita boleh A ataupun skor SPM ataupun skor dapat point ataupun dapat markah tinggi dengan kita sebab kita study nak dapat bila kita study bahasa Arab tu, sebenarnya tak. Bila kita dah keluar, kena bercakap, kena menulis dan kita kena praktikal. Barulah bahasa tu tak hilang dan tidak lari dengan kita. Kalau kita tak praktikal, tak cakap. Saya atas sekarang saya sendiri pun, walaupun duduk di Malaysia, bila jumpa kawan-kawan ustaz-ustaz yang boleh berbahasa Arab, saya akan bercakap Arab supaya bahasa tu tak hilang. Hatta bahasa lain pun sama juga. Practice make perfect.
Thank you. Terima kasih Ustaz Falah, banyak input yang sangat berguna untuk pelajar bahasa Arab kita. Lain sekali, I would like to go with AMIR. Any last words you would like to share, words of motivation, words of encouragement for especially these final year students who are finishing in the next few months?
I think I'm a bit consistent lah. So kalau this is a bit repetitive, you all bear with me lah. Bersabarlah sikit lah. I think at the end of the day, you must figure out what you want. And that being said, you tak payah, I mean, if you don't know what you want, that's also okay. I'm not saying you must know right now, my life's mission in the next 30 years, I'm going to change the world. Tak ada, I'm not saying that. If anything, that is actually very unrealistic lah, if I'm being very honest. Very few of us will actually go out to be somebody that affects the world in such a huge scale. But that being said, that doesn't mean you can't aspire to it. You can, but you must now understand what it would take. You must start doing your homework as to what it would take to get to that level, even if that's the ambition. Or if your ambition is just to be a good father, a good mother, you know, that's also okay. That is perfectly legitimate. But it's a question of, do you know what you want? And I think at this age, maybe you don't. So what you need to do is explore. You need to go beyond the university. You need to join activities. The skills that Shawn mentioned, you need to pick it up. You can only really pick it up if you actually expose yourself to doing additional things, you know? But that being said, even though you don't know what you want, or you already know what you want, by right, you must package yourself correctly. You must play your strengths. Just like in any game, life to some extent is a game lah. You have to build certain skills and put certain effort into different stats, so to speak. So if you know, macam sekarang, some of you are budak learning bahasa Melayu as komunikasi. I'm going to be honest lah. First thing that comes to my mind, oh my God, what are you going to do with this degree? You know? But that being said, how do you position yourself then? Because if you know this is the scenario, there's only so many Dewan Bahasa Pustaka punya jobs lah. You know? So it's a question of now going out of the field, where do you go? And how do you make yourself more attractive? So have you thought about maybe, you know, interning in Indonesia? Have you thought, because this is where the Malay language market is big, you know? Have you thought about positioning yourself as an expert of Indonesia, you know, culture and tu? Just like Ustaz Falah, I really admire the fact that when he's in, dah masa belajar, dah start all these businesses, helping out Malaysians work on the ground in Mecca and all. That's something you can reasonably do as well. But in these places lah, if bahasa is your advantage or your strength, how are you making sure that it actually is a strength lah? You know, maybe you need to spend 3 months in an Arab-speaking country, for example. If you're doing English, you know, because all of these things will culminate on your resume, on your tour, that will get you the opportunities to be in front of the door. Which is why I said, I mean, even if you have not done it, let's say you baru now you nak start lah. You know, okay lah, all this while I tak pernah nak buat, you know, maybe I tak terfikir, tak ada orang sebut, and therefore I'm starting out very low. So that's okay. Like I said, there is, although it's a game, the only competitor is actually yourself. Because whether you do well, whether you do badly, the person that it affects is you, tak ada orang lain. Kalau, you know, if you are the type that you know you want to live a comfortable lifestyle, you know, you better be working towards it lah. If you're okay with sitting back, you know, if you nak rumah besar, banglo, you better be developing the skills to actually allow you to earn that lah. Then you cannot bitch about being in a flat if you never put in effort, you know. Or if you are the type that I'm okay with a flat, you know, janji I can give impact to the world, I can do social work, that's also okay. So knowing what you want will help you determine how to navigate the job market, notwithstanding what's going on. Okay, so that I think is my parting words lah. I think the more you explore, the more you will know. But of course, balance it against your personal circumstances. You know, because there's only so much exploring you can do based on how much money you have, based on what lifestyle your family has, you know. So I mean, be realistic about it lah, you know. Jangan sampai memudaratkan orang lain because you're doing this and that, you know. I think that's about as real as I can get lah. It's not disheartening lah.
Thank you so much, Amir. It's good to have the 4 panelists here, and you guys, I feel like gave really good real life advice, real life, like the truth lah. We're not going to sugarcoat the fact that COVID-19 is really affecting everyone. We're not going to sugarcoat the fact that you do have competition out there. So I really hope that my juniors out there, students of LG, you really managed to get something from the panelists. Ada dapat input, ada dapat banyak nasihat yang you all boleh habis je sesi ni terus go on Google and you know what you have to do. So terima kasih banyak-banyak saya ingin ucapkan kepada ahli panel kita yang 4 orang ni. InsyaAllah program LG IES, LG Industry Engagement Series ni akan bersambung lagi dengan beberapa sesi lain insyaAllah. Dan saya sebagai seorang moderator sangatlah gembira dengan outcome sesi ini. Saya rasa ia sangat bermanfaat. So I would like to pass the screen to Zak for closing. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much, Madam Moderator, Puan Maisarah Ahmad Kamil, and of course, I would like to say thank you so much to Mr. SHAWN KENG. Thank you so much to Mr. AMIR ISYAM. Terima kasih Encik Muhammad Zaki dan syukran Encik Ahmad FALAHUDIN. So thank you so much to all of our panelists for today. And of course, just like what Madam Maisarah has informed just now, this LG series will continue for all of our APB students. Next one we have in line dalam perancangan is basically how you can fix your resume. So we're gonna have that coming up soon. All right. Okay. So before I close this, kepada yang mampu dari segi image, alright, let's take a screenshot of this meeting. So I would like to screenshot. So can siapa yang okay, yang you know belakang tak adalah baju yang tersidai ke apa ke, okay. So turn on your cameras, alright, and let's just take a photo. Okay, I see Nur Shafina. Bagus. Spotting.
Welcome. Siapa lagi? Turn on your cameras. Kita ambil a nice group photo kat sini.
Lilik tu tak apa. Lilik je apa-apa pun. Okay, saya nampak Nur Solehah. Saya nampak Izzati. Saya nampak Encik Kamar. Kamar, I recognize you. Okay. Okay. Turut bersama kita adalah Timbalan Dekan, PM Dr. Nur Hanim. Okay, ada Amira. Alright, anybody else?
Okay, I think kita perlukan lagi 4 orang kot, kan? 4 people more. Okay, kan?
Alright, Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much. Okay, so I will basically commence. Everyone look at the camera, smile. In 3, 2, wait, hold on. Okay, wait, hold on. Using 2 screens here, people. Okay, in 3, 2, 1, and smile. Okay, Alhamdulillah. Okay, so thank you so much. All right, so mel kucing Encik Zaki tu. All right. Okay, so before I would like to end this, a friendly reminder to all of the students, there is a feedback form. Okay, please fill in the feedback form. That will also be your attendance. Okay, for this, please be honest, okay, because we would like to improve on our LG's program, especially for future programs. And also, aside from that, this entire session is recorded and I will be sharing this on Academy Pengajian Bahasa's YouTube channel. Yes, we have a YouTube channel now, ladies and gentlemen. So I'll be sharing it there, okay? Once it's uploaded, I will be sharing the link to all of the APB organizations, and I'll be sharing the link to Puan Maisarah so that she can share it with our panelists. So yes, so again, feedback form, jangan lupa my KPI itu. Okay, so thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and may God bless all of you. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.